Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome to the channel. So, a lot going on in War Thunder this week. We got update 1.91 coming up. You know, we've all seen fix the game in 1.91 a million different places. I actually had really high hopes that they were going to take that seriously and actually attempt to try to fix some things. And then the Q&A came out and it just completely shattered that illusion. If you haven't seen the Q&A, go look at it. I mean, some of the answers are just, you just sit there while you're reading it and say, wow, is this for real? I don't want to say arrogant, but it definitely has a sense of arrogance to it. I don't know if it's a culture thing, but some of the answers are just downright brutal. Like, oh, you're not happy with this game mode? Well, don't play that game mode then. Go play this game mode. You know, I mean, I'll read you some of the questions here. Okay, here you go. Here's one for aircraft. Will there be any changes in the gameplay in Aircraft RB? For example, new targets for bombers and attackers, destroying a city or train, possibly? At the moment, gameplay in bombers and attackers is monotonous. We need more different targets. Here's the answer. You need to understand that in Aircraft RB, only aircraft and nothing else, the target will always be AI. So the principal gameplay is unlikely to change much, even if we will add a new types of target. True diversity can be achieved when the attack target can pose a real danger to the attacking aircraft, or even better if it is controlled by another player. Try to use aircraft in combined battles, ground or naval. There you will find real gameplay variety of defeat of different targets, which makes it necessary to use different weapons depending on the situation. So, in other words, yes, we understand that it's monotonous, so don't play that game mode, go play a different game mode. And to top it off, all the person asked for was some new targets. They didn't say anything about the targets fighting back or not being AI, any of that. They just said they wanted to bomb some different things once in a while. Here's another question for Air that's basically like hooked right to this. Recent tests in aviation realistic battles and during confrontation have proved significantly popular with pilots. It's fair to say this mode and the changes made solve many of the issues people face with the current random battles for AirRB, such as lack of targets, dynamic objectives, and variety in scenarios. Will you consider making AirRB-EC a permanent mode rather than just a monthly test event? Here's your answer. No, we will not. It should be clear that it would mean dividing the overall online player count in aircraft and the RB game mode into two parts, which would worsen the situation for matching. Okay, dude, here's one thing that I don't understand why this is so complicated for them to comprehend. And I'm not trying to be an asshole. Okay, you're worried about matchmaking times. Okay, maybe the issue is you're not giving players what they want. If you give players what they want, you'll get more players. Matchmaking times will go down. If you keep trying to shove things down people's throat that they don't want, of course they're not going to play them. Matchmaking times are going to keep getting worse. Okay, and there's two questions in here that I'm going to talk about for ground forces. So the first one is the mouse. Okay, here's the question. Currently, the community has an active discussion regarding the mouse. Many players are upset that this tank will disappear from the regular research tree. A lot of questions about the possibility of obtaining it after the release of 1.91, because the information which we published in the devlog was that the vehicles which will be withdrawn and will become event vehicles. Can you tell us a bit more about it? Okay, first off, I'm going to say this, and I'm not trying to be a dick or disrespectful. You guys need to hire a new PR and communications department. There's obviously still some sort of language barrier, communications barrier that exists. Also, just to be clear, I'm not saying anyone should get fired or anything like that. I'm just saying bring some other people on to help, because it's an issue. And honestly, sometimes I think the community's negative reaction stems more from how things are said than what's actually being said. I mean, don't get me wrong, both things contribute to it, but it doesn't help sometimes with the way that it's said. Okay, now I'm going to paraphrase this answer because it's quite long. Like I said, if you want to read the whole thing, it's in the news. Okay, so the reason they're removing the mouse, and this actually came up the other day in the Object 685 devlog. One of the first things people started saying was, oh, so we can get a prototype as long as it's not a German prototype. Okay, their reasoning for removing the mouse is because they have trouble balancing it. If they put it with tanks from its own era, they can't pen it. And if they put it with tanks post-war that have access to chemical rounds, the mouse has no mobility. It has no real way to, really compete with those tanks, and they can pen it from any direction. So that's their reasoning for it. And then this is what they go on to say. The mouse will be hidden and moved from the main research tree to the event and premium vehicle area. So the number of such vehicles in battles will be reduced, which will probably allow us to balance it in the future more freely. I don't understand how that's going to help your supposed reason at all. Okay, I'll continue. We also plan to open it for research for a limited time in the future under the same conditions as we hid it. This will not happen often, but we do expect it to happen regularly, at least once a year. We don't plan for mouse to appear on the War Thunder market, so the tank will remain researchable but under limited conditions. Okay, so how is that going to help the situation that you say exists? The only thing that's going to do is once a year, when you make it researchable, every new player that doesn't already have it is going to research it, and then they're going to have it. So there's still going to be the same amount of them out there. Not quite sure that logic follows. And I mean, you guys really, if you haven't already read these, you got to go read them. The thing is they actually for once gave us good questions, but the answers got worse. So here's the question, guys. And just from the question, you think the message would be conveyed how serious this is, how much of an issue this is for the community and the player base. Okay, here we go. Some months after the introduction of rank 7 now, compression at BR 10.0 is extremely high, to the point where many are becoming extremely frustrated with the situation. While some tanks at 9.0 to 9.7 are okay, others suffer significantly. Is there any reason why even a BR 10.3 or 10.7 cannot be created? Okay, now just from the way that question was worded, you think the message would be conveyed that this is something that is really bothering people, right? Well, you would be wrong. Here's your answer. The main reason for this is that we don't consider decompression, increase in the spread of vehicles by rank, to be a positive phenomenon. One of the main features of the ground vehicles at the 6th and 7th ranks, which allows us to easily implement it, was the armor construction, which is pretty similar for all such vehicles. Narrow frontal protection with vulnerable areas and weakened sides and rear, which can be penetrated even by cannons from the end of the 40s. It was this that allowed the admission of the vehicles at different production years in one battle. The same feature is improving the conditions for matchmaking at high ranks. Less players will be matched and the waiting time for the battles will be reduced. They're so obsessed with matchmaking time. I honestly don't care if I had to wait another 2 minutes for a battle, as long as I got a good battle. And yes, you're correct. A lot of these vehicles can pen the others from the side. But the issue here is when I have a 10.0 tank and a 9.0 tank, okay, as a backup, that's fine. The problem is when I have a 9.0 tank, an 8.7 tank, and an 8.7 tank, and I get thrown in with a bunch of 10.0 tanks. That's the issue. All right, on with the rest of the answer. A slight expansion of the BRs up to 10.7 would first reduce the number of unique vehicles in battles at the top ranks by ×2. Okay, here's an idea then. Why don't you bring every other nation up to speed with the 2A5? Makes the battles less diverse and create a situation in which the value of the armor would be minimized because basically there would be vehicles with shells that will cope even with the opponent's frontal armor. I don't even understand what you're saying there. Try playing MBT 70 against a 2A5. At the same time, for tanks that are 1 to 2 generations post-war, nothing much will change because it isn't possible to significantly extend the BR range due to the limitations on the game session matchmaking time. No one cares about the matchmaking time. And pre-top vehicles like the Leo 2A4 or the T64 would still have no problems defeating tanks from previous generations. What are you talking about? We would like to remind you once again, BR isn't. I'm sorry, because the problem is the answer is all jumbled up. So like as I'm reading it, my mind's saying, no, that's not correct. Stop, reread it. But that is how the answer is actually written. We would like to remind you once again, BR isn't a characteristics by which you can compare the effectiveness of the vehicle, because ground vehicles and aircraft with the same BR aren't necessarily equal to each other, but it simply means that they can meet each other in the same battle and will have a chance to win.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. God have mercy on your soul.
Honestly, no offense, Matt, but what in the hell are you talking about?
Am I the only one that feels like you're listening to a politician give an answer that doesn't actually give an answer for anything?
Here's the end. In general, the current BR ranges are suitable for effective balancing, and addition of the new stages can only occur in an emergency, which of course means we don't rule out such a situation occurring. Well, dude, get on the phone with FEMA because it's emergency time.
I mean, and I honestly feel like I'm having a stroke reading this or something.
Right, you make me understand, bright, that feeling, pretty, good, drive the world, and we go in. Stroke! Stop mocking me!
Reread the question. It's extremely... Compression at BR10 is extremely high to the point where many are becoming extremely frustrated with the situation. Those are your customers. They're becoming extremely frustrated. What's it going to take for you to decide that it is an emergency? If not that.
I honestly don't even know what else to say at this point. I mean, I guess just this is the state of the game. I guess that's all I can say. And again, I'm honestly not trying to like attack anyone personally or be offensive or mean or rude or any of that. I'm kind of like in awe, I suppose. That's all I can say.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry to interrupt your normal broadcast, but we have some breaking news. I'm receiving word from one of our correspondents that we actually have a hidden camera inside a meeting at Gaijin right now. We're going to go live and see what's happening.
I'm talking to you, you prick. What do you say?
Why don't you look me in the eye and say that?
I would if I could, but I can't. I'm blind.
You're blind. You're really blind?
Yes, I'm really blind, man. What are you, fucking deaf?
Yes, I'm fucking deaf.
Deaf?
Yes, I'm deaf.
You really deaf?
I'm really deaf.
How do you know what I'm saying?
Because I'm reading your lips.
That's better. Now, I believe we agreed on 300.
300 what? What are we talking about?
Just a minute. Hold everything. Stop the music. Because tonight, my friend, we celebrate.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is truly shocking and eye-opening. It seems the reason why they don't respond to anything that we say or ask for or any input at all that we give them is because they're actually blind and deaf. This is truly shocking, but it actually makes a lot of sense now. And I don't know if you guys noticed, but they also settled on 300. 300 what? I don't have the foggiest fucking idea, but 300 something. Judging from the newest update, probably 300 fuck yous to the British tech tree, I would guess. Honestly, though, I don't think anyone's an idiot at Gaijin or anything, and I'm not trying to start any shit, but at this point, I mean, I think you guys could afford us some comedic relief. I mean, what else can we do at this point? It's not worth getting pissed off about every day anymore, and all we really can do anymore is just laugh about how ridiculous things are becoming. Listen, here's, I guess, the best way to wrap this up. This whole idea of the official company position being this see no evil, hear no evil, or better yet, see no wrong, hear no wrong, doesn't work. You would be so much better off just admitting, yes, we made a mistake, we're working on it, please be patient. I promise you, the community at large would be a million times more likely to embrace that kind of response than the responses that they get now. Everyone wants to see this game succeed. Everyone has invested a lot of time and energy and money into this. I mean, you've created something amazing. That's why we all invest so much into it. And that's why people stick around despite the responses that they get. No one likes to feel like they're being ignored. And when you act like everything is perfectly fine and okay, when 90% of the player base is screaming at the top of their lungs that it's not okay, that's going to create issues. There's a so much better way to handle all of this for everyone involved. There's no downside to it. It's not the end of the world to just say, listen, we tried something, it's not working, we're working on making it better. No one expects everything that the company does to be perfect 100% of the time. It would actually be impossible for the company to play the game as often as the players play the game. Some of us play the game literally every free waking moment we have. If the company played the game that much, they would never have time to add anything to the game. And you guys are always adding things to the game. So there's literally no possible way for you to be playing the game as much as some of the players are. So when the players say this is an issue, I mean, perhaps instead of just outright dismissing them, maybe look into that. Okay, and listen, I want to make this perfectly clear also. I'm not just looking at this from the player's side either. I also understand the developers. I understand why they're salty. I mean, the community is very toxic, but I heard this described once on Reddit, and it was the best description of the situation that I've heard yet. Imagine you're sitting in your vehicle and there's a car in front of you stopped at the stoplight and it has a sticker on it and the sticker says Gaijin. Okay. Now imagine the light turns green. That car pulls forward into the middle of the intersection and just stops. Okay. Everyone behind you is getting impatient. They start to honk their horns. They're honking their horns. You honk your horn. Still no response from the car at all. Nothing. Finally, people get so annoyed that they get out of their car. They go up to the car in the intersection. They start screaming at it. Still no response from the car at all. People start banging on the windows because they can't see into them. The windows are tinted. They're still not getting any response from inside the vehicle. This goes on and on and on. Still no response from inside the vehicle. Finally, someone goes to get a bat out of their trunk. They're going to smash the window in the car to try to get some sort of response from it. Right as they swing back with the bat and they're ready to crack that window open, the car rolls its window down and says, "Hey, what's up? What's wrong?" That's kind of what happens with the company, man. And because of that, we're all stuck in this Vinda loop. It's like we're stuck in an abusive relationship with each other. And we are stuck because there's no other alternative for either side. They're stuck with the customers and the customers are stuck with them because there's no alternative to this game that's anything like it. So how do you move forward from there? There has to be some sort of reconciliation. There has to be some sort of acknowledgement from the company first that says, listen, we understand we've handled things wrong in the past. We're going to work on that. And I think you would see the community's attitude toward the company reset at that point, as long as they actually followed through with it. And I'm not even going to beat around Demi Moore's nude picture from the 80s about this. I put my balls on the chopping block saying a lot of this stuff. So if anyone listening to this video agrees with anything I say, please do me a favor and hit the like and subscribe button. Okay, but I'm going to end here because I probably already went way too far. I've never heard anyone else on YouTube ever say anything even remotely like this. I know a lot of them guys are basically employees, but still. So I'm ending here, and hopefully I get to see you guys again. Who knows?